Hello, this is meteorologist Ted Keller. I wanted to give you a heads up with the weather in the Ozarks today on Saturday, June 13th. We have a high wind risk, a little bit of a tornado risk, and we're going to add to the already heavy rain that's fallen across much of the Ozarks. Let's take a look. We have a level 3 out of 5 severe weather risk, pretty much not quite centered on the Ozarks, but we're close to it. The center of it's about right there. So yeah, we're thickly in the level 3 out of 5, and severe weather is possible anywhere in the Ozarks. It's ongoing right now in northern Arkansas. Take a look at that here in a minute. But this is a pretty substantial hazard. Now, there is a tornado risk. We always want to start with that. And I'll say a couple of things about this. First of all, I believe that most of the risk of a tornado, and what we're talking about here is a 5%, that's the brown, 5% chance within a 25-mile circle of a tornado. But most of that's going to be with, I think, a squall line that develops later in the evening and descends like this into the Ozarks. However, there might be an isolated cell that pops up in here somewhere that would warrant a tornado risk with that as well. So just keep that in mind. It's an interesting day, and I'll show you why in a minute. Primarily, this is going to be a wind risk. We have a 45% chance of a severe wind gust in this purple area. And if you're looking for a breakdown of what the maximum winds will be, this is in the intensity 1 level from the Storm Prediction Center. So we're talking, a high probability. We're talking about 86% of chance of it being somewhere between 50 and 64 knots, with it definitely higher weighing in the 50 to 55 knot range. So that just gets out a little bit below severe level and up to about severe wind level. Let's come back to the tornadoes real quick. I want to show you that NATOcast does have us in a 5% risk that runs from southeast Kansas and covers all of the Ozarks for all practical purposes. And I could do this hour by hour, but I wanted to show you where the maximum tornado risk was. This was 11 to 12 tonight in this corridor right here. So Springfield is right here. So this is, again, that line that's descending across the Ozarks. And if I were to look at the hours previous to this, they would be up here. And then the hours after that, it diminishes quite a bit. So some good news. Satellite loop around noon. Interesting, because we had this morning convection that dumped all that rain. I'll show you where in a second. Look at this boundary right here. See where the air clears out behind it, and right in here. And it's actually currently firing thunderstorms in that area. And so we had some cirrus clouds, then we got some clearing out here. It's just a complicated forecast. And generally, the upper level winds are not supportive of supercells, but locally here, I think they are, because there's a little tiny disturbance moving through the upper atmosphere left over from other thunderstorms that's helping to fire this activity here north of Yellowville. Severe thunderstorm warning there. And what's going to happen to this activity here? It may actually blossom, or activity that shows up a little more west of where I have this recorded. This was at 12:30. So let me show you. So at 2 o'clock, they show this boundary moving north. This, and by they, I mean the HRRR model. I meant don't take these thunderstorm positions as gospel. I'm doing it's more of a guidance. And I can already see that this is too far north, that these thunderstorms here are part of what's already forming. So I would shift that south. So that's region, what I would call region number 1. Okay, let's go to here. This is the 7 p.m. simulation. We still have thunderstorms active southeast of Springfield, probably the boundaries of 1. And then we got this little tiny cell here. Again, not representative of an actual forecast of where that's going to be, but I'm going to call this zone number 2. I really kind of think that this area, it has to be watched for individual supercells. And then we have the developing line up here. See, northeast between Emporia and Kansas City. Then by 10 o'clock, again, all radar simulations here, not to be taken as the actual position, but to a close approximation, that's where this is going to be. And you'll notice there's individual supercells in here. These could be tornadic if they can especially latch on to boundaries that were left behind from this morning. So you can see it's getting to be a little complicated. I'm going to switch gears real quick and take a look at the radar estimate, basically what fell overnight last night. So we're talking about 4 to 6 inch rains there in northern Polk County getting into Hickory County. Same can be said for Wright and Webster County. And then finally, the forecast from the quantitative precipitation forecast from the government is showing widespread 2 to 4 inch chances over that same area with a bullseye right over Wright and Webster County of 4 inches. So flash flooding already an issue in some areas. It will be exacerbated in many areas later on tonight and by tomorrow morning.